But I can't sue. What a pity. A serious oversight on our housekeeper's side. Oh, look who's talking. What are you going to make the rings from? Are you maybe planning on just reeling the wire of the induction coil around your finger? I've got a couple of ideas. Well, I'm listening. Senior looked at me carefully and smiled, anticipating my failure. However, even before I met her, I had acquired some very different skills, and crafting together a couple of rings wouldn't be very hard for me. The only question is the equipment. You can't find the tubulous instruments in a camp. So I simply wouldn't have had time to prepare everything in a mere week. If not for the cybernetics club. If you rummaged through the bulk of equipment stored there, you could definitely find enough gilding for 2 simple rings. And keeping the local cybernetics occupied with something for a couple of days will certainly not be a problem, especially considering it's not the first time for me. That's a surprise. Even so, Senya got embarrassed. In a week's time they'll disappear. You know we won't be able to take anything with us. So what? What's more important to you? 2 pieces of metal or... No, of course not. But if you're going to do it the way it should be, then the dress too. Senya's eyes sparkled. There were no problems with the suit. I knew for sure that several guys in the camp with pants and a jacket. Maybe even a dark grey color. A summer dress would look good on Senya, but a wedding dress was her idea in the end, which she predictably rejected right away. You still? Are you serious? Looks like she got tired of arguing already. No, but you can always ask one of the girls. I think that's the best option. Senya grew red, pouted and turned away. Then go ask them yourself and take measurements of yourself, cause you'll be you'll be the one wearing it. How do you even imagine I could do that? I'll just walk up to, say, Slavia and ask her, could you please zoom a wedding dress for me? How about you say that it's for a costume contest? No, that's kinda silly. For costume ball. Senya was surprised but didn't start arguing right away. I'll get the idea through the camp leader, don't worry. And there'll be nothing to be shy about. A wedding as a part of the performance. We'll make sure we can electronic perform man's first walk in outer space. Miku will cosplay Lenin on an armored car. Das könnte eine Anspielung sein. Ich bin mir nicht sicher. And me and you will marry. And what historical event do you want to make this a reenactment of? God, what does it matter? Could even be the marriage of Ekaterina II and Peter III. Oh, what an unenviable fate is waiting for you then, darling. Senya smirked. No matter, it's just an example. See, you're joking already. Still, that somehow... Trust me. Okay, if you think it'll all work out... It started to dawn. The fever made its presence known and seemed to get even stronger. Apparently the real pioneer girl got lost somewhere in the forest. Looks like I've been ditched again. Though I wasn't too hopeful this time, I just wanted to get everything back the way it was. Not come back to reality. Maybe it's only been an hour on the other side. Maybe centuries. It doesn't even matter anymore. I felt like a comatose man who wakes up and can't recognize the world around him. The horizon was burning with a bright scarlet glow, showering the sky with a flaming aurora. What if it wasn't just the inhabitants that had changed in this world? In a mere few minutes the beams of blazing sun will get here and burn me up, together with this whole damn Sovienok. I wish the real pioneer girl would come back. It's better to settle in a new world than burn alive in a familiar one. More so because nobody there will know about everything that happened with me here. About everything I did myself. You seem to be in deep thought about something. A familiar voice sounded nearby. My voice. What do you want? I was surprised by his appearance and even scared a bit. I had enough problems with the maddened pioneers and had stopped even thinking about my doubles. Although, my doubles? How long has it been since I called them that? Right, for me there was always me, and there were them. We have nothing in common, we are different people. If we were the one, even if we were one at the same point, at some point. Maybe you're thinking, when did it all go wrong? Here I was mistaken, I wasn't thinking about that. Tormenting yourself with doubts, asking yourself questions you never find answers to. I just want this all to be over, and your presence is hardly helping with that. Everything's long over if you mean it that way. Oh really? That's not particularly noticeable. For everyone but you, that day in the bus you made the wrong decision and died? I looked over my body carefully. It hurts, which means I'm alive. I don't look much like a dead man. You think it's really all that simple? That movie-like? Do you want to remember the moments when the life left you? Remember your last breath? The point of transition? The first moments on the new level of existence? I don't really get you. Then it means I've already died then in reality. No, you've been given a chance, but you didn't use it. And ended up in your own personal hell. Limbo, if you wish. Oh, look at you reinventing the wheel, as if I didn't know that. You knew that, but you didn't know that you're alone here now and there's no exit. I knew that. Or at least I would assume so. So what about you then? I'm not here, I'm just your hallucination. The first resounded with his disgusting laughter. This is all painfully familiar, but why is it repeating itself now? Is it true when they say that troubles never come singly? Be my guest. I closed my eyes and even turned away just to be sure. Don't treat him like that, he's one of us too, or at least he was once. The familiar voice sounded a bit different. Fucking great. Die hätten vielleicht noch mal anderen scheiß Sample nehmen können. Oder ein Sprite. Now two pioneers were standing in the clearing in front of me. You have to fight fire with fire. He's already been through enough fighting. I wouldn't say it's enough yet. They were arguing and the reality lost all meaning to me. Look, he's lost his mind for good already. That's nothing special, it'll pass, like in that story that we told Uljana. Signed with the name of a non-existent friend, the mad regain their sanity and the sane go mad. And then the devilish laughed again. You think this is his first time? Isn't it? I know for sure that it isn't. He thinks he remembers everything. He's ready for everything. He knows the behavior of every pioneer beforehand. But he forgot so much. Maybe forgot the most important thing. Julia. God damn it. Was für eine Art Clusterfuck wird das hier? Enough already! Those two suddenly stepped aside and the cat-eared one came forward. I was always kind of wary of her because I thought that there was nothing good to expect from her. Moreover, somewhere deep inside of me she caused some kind of animalistic primal feel, like the fear of the dark. And I never believed her stories either. Like that she's our subconsciousness, its hidden part. What nonsense. Don't you see how bad off he is? You know use, like you. She pointed her fingers at the evil pioneer. Hurry to the infirmary. Infirmary. infirmary for pills. What pills? He was a bit startled. I don't know. Aren't you the smartest one here? Figured out. The pioneer sighed helplessly and dragged himself in the directions of the camp. And you? She looked at the good one. And you? Well, find something to do. Find something to do too. Honestly, your whining is sickening, and it only makes things worse. But I only wanted to help. But you're not helping, so go. She waved her hand and made an expression that made a thought flash through my head, just like a grumpy cat. The pioneer didn't argue and followed his double. So, what now? I asked without much enthusiasm. I've been tricked more than once, and I'm not going to believe her now. Especially her. I would never have thought that all of the local inhabitants it would be the cat-eared one to come to help me. Even if only in words. After all, she remembers the previous times, remembers our quarrel in the bus. You think you'll be able to make an idiot out of me, again? Gathering the last bits of strength, I raised myself, my eyes darkening from pain. But where will I go? I should have taken the syringe myself. Why did I even decide that a suicide here is the end? Hey! The cat-eared one jumped to my side with one leap and held me so I wouldn't fall. Ew. Do you really want me to believe you're helping me? And what do you think I'm doing now? After all, I always help you all. Yeah, sure. I sank onto the ground again and let out a heavy sigh. There's really nowhere for me to go in this condition. So, when will your pioneers return? Soon, she answered weakly. Okay, let's sit. Let's wait. I've got nothing to lose anymore. So. Und hier ist der Punkt, wo ich mal speichere. Und mal aufhöre, denn es ist jetzt 2 Uhr. Ich glaube, ich habe jetzt 2,5 Stunden wieder aufgenommen. Das geht ratzfatz irgendwie hier. Viel schneller als andere Visual Novels, die ich gemacht habe. Ich weiß nicht, hier vergeht die Zeit immer schneller, weil die Geschichte auch so interessant ist. Man möchte einfach dranbleiben. So, aber Leute, ich sag mal, ich mache hier mal Schluss, mache eine Pause und dann sehen wir uns wieder in der nächsten Aufnahmesession. Bis dann. So, willkommen zurück bei Everlasting Psycho Camp. So, the whole camp gathered at the square. Uliana was chasing Electronic in a vain attempt to take away his very crumpled cardboard cosmonaut helmet. The scene of the man's first walk into open space was not without some amusing incidents. Gender's monument served as an improved rock for the cyberneticists, and Shurik managed to trip and fall from it at the most crucial moment. It's a good thing that the distance to the ground was significantly shorter than the near-Earth orbit, and it met him like in the song with the crest near home. Stop running! You'll kill yourself for good! Olga was wailing. I'm not even sure what concerned her more in this situation, the cyberneticists or the image of the camp that had no accidents 365... Das habe ich richtig ausgesprochen. Days a year since the beginning of time. Chenya Genderbender was standing near and tugging on my sleeve, but I was too carried away with the spectacle and didn't notice right away. So, what? Are you sure we should be doing this? But you want this yourself. I didn't want anything. You just suggested and I agreed. We have discussed this 100 times already, and you know full well that it's not for real. Oh, so it's not for real, huh? She said dreadfully. Calm down, girl. That's not what I mean. We're just in this world, don't forget it. In a couple days everything will repeat itself and no one will remember this. Yes, but I will. So, who are you embarrassed by the most? Those around you or yourself? Senya blushed and said nothing. Okay, go change already, Olga commanded us. Ready? Senya nodded. Oh, da war noch ein Punkt. Ready? Ach, Miko ist cute. Was mit Lena? Lena hat irgendwie... Ich weiß auch nicht. Dieses Smirk-Face von Alyssa ist lustig. Sehr funny. 10 minutes later, a strange sight for a regular pioneer camp could be seen at a square. Oh, what am I saying? It was strange even for Sovietnok. And I felt strange too, standing in the middle of a crowd of pioneers in an old Soviet costume of someone else's back. Not a formal tailcoat, of course, but still better than shorts and a short-sleeved shirt. Whereas Senya was Oh! Der war interessant. In the hastily cut semblance of a wedding dress. In another situation I would say she looked foolish, but not now. Now this dress seemed to be more beautiful than any attire from the pompous fashion shops. So, what scene are you playing now? I forgot. The camp leader whispered into my ear. Olga, what does it matter already? Let's start. Okay. Senya was standing as red as a lobster, not knowing where to put her eyes. She seemed now to strongly want to look at me. Everything will be alright, I said quietly. Mika was merrily smiling in the crowd of pioneers as if this was her own wedding, a bit foolish maybe, but sincerely. Lena was blushing as usual, but sometimes casting careful glances at us. Her whole look was saying that she'd been dragged here against her will, and she would have been playing the guitar or just sleeping if only she could. Though Uljana was clearly thrilled with the whole spectacle, children don't need much to be happy. Oh, die ist doch über 18, wie kommt denn auf, dass sie ein Kind ist? As for Slavia, she seemed to be really happy for us and smiled kindly. Let's get this over with already. Looks like any more and Senya will be embarrassed to death. Okay, we are ready. I nodded to the camp leader. Now I had to say what they usually say at weddings. Of course, I didn't know the exact words and managed to safely forget everything I've prepared beforehand. I promise, I started with my voice shaking, in sickness and oldness. No, that's not how it was. What are you mumbling? We can't hear anything. Uljana merrily shouted. Be quiet, you, or we'll put you in Senya's place. The threat had an immediate effect and Uljana fell silent. Well, that's... Just a minute ago I could have sworn I was absolutely calm and now I couldn't say a word. I could only guess what Senya was feeling. I gathered my courage. I promised to be with you for better and for worse, for richer and for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death drew us apart. The pioneers joyfully clamoring until now stopped talking immediately. I got so quiet I could hear my heart beating furiously. Senya was still standing, her eyes dropped to the ground. Then hips wieder auf. Well, now you. She pumped air into her lungs and pattered. Agree to marry... Himmel, Arsch nochmal. Agree to marry you, promise to be with you, sickness and poorer. Here. The crowd exploded with laughter. Though for me, Senya's words sounded quite serious. And get it over with already. And what about now you can kiss the bride? I asked with a playful tone. Senya's eyes sparkled, making it clear that the situation was good enough even without kisses. I guess she's right, and we'll have time for that anyway. Good job, thanks everyone! Olga was shouting. Electronic came forward with a camera. He looked as if he would be much happier having a crowbar in his hands instead. A couple of shots to remember. Oh, hell nah! Senior bawled at him. Come on, for the family album. She hesitated a little, but gave the semblance of a smile after all. It all turned out as it should be, better than it... It all turned out as it should be, better than it should be. Ach so. For the first time in all this time, Senior looked me right in the eyes, smiled and said, "Yeah, I guess." Das war der Satz des Abends. Vielen Dank. I woke up when the day was already drawing to a close. The fever had abated and I found an injection mark on my right hand. Did the cat-eared one really help me? At first I couldn't even believe there's somebody here capable of a kind of deed after all that's happened in the last few days. With some difficulty I got up and headed towards the camp. After all, I definitely have nothing to do in the forest, and it doesn't look like it can get any worse. Time and again a thought was appearing in my head. I have to endure. I have to live through this week, and then it'll be easier. I will recover physically, and there will even be some time to recover mentally. Just don't despair. Don't give up. Don't be like him. I would rather die than live like that. Pioneers with backpacks, bags and parcels were scampering back and forth through the square. The camp leader was standing near Genda, like a small monument, arms akimbo and shouting formidably. I froze on the spot, not knowing what to expect. This world is in continuous motion. It changes before my very eyes. Just yesterday they were ready to kill me, and what about today? "Hey, Semyon!" The camp leader shouted and looked at me intimidatingly. "Who? Me? Are you addressing me? Why aren't you packing up yet?" "Packed up? I'm ready to be packed off. Today's the last day of the session. Did you forget again? Packing up, off you go." I didn't want to argue with her. I just didn't have the strength. And I stopped being surprised a long time ago, so I just flung out, "Is it okay that I look like this?" And pointed at my torn clothes and bruises all over me. "What happened to you?" The camp leader sincerely wondered. "Are you running through the forest and fell?" "What the hell are you talking about? What forest? Why will I even need to run through the forest?" "Okay, it's not my business. We are leaving in half an hour. If you're late again, you'll stay for another session." She smirked. Stay here for another session? No, this definitely lies outside of my plans. Anyways, a new chance to get out of here appeared, even if in such a dumb way. I started to drag myself towards the bus stop. The whole camp crowded in front of the bus. Everyone's waiting for the camp leader. After all, following rules contradicts her own rules. "Oh, what happened to you?" The pioneer from the infirmary inquired maternally. "Are you alright? Need a bandage?" Why stop at that? Offer me a splint." Must have fallen into a ditch and cried his eyes out. Sure, look who's talking. What if wolves got him? Only if those wolves were the local pioneers. I was just sitting quietly on the roadside, my head lowered onto my hands. I didn't even want to think about what will happen tomorrow, whether I will get into a new loop or it will all end once for all. Or maybe there's something else waiting for me ahead, something better.